Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Well, hello and welcome again to Speaking Moistly. With me again this week is Greg. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Mark?
Wonderful. We still don't have a U.S. decision president on the or a U.S. presidential decision. I'm not that surprised, but I think we got another little ways to go. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not following that too closely. It looks like a mess. I'm trying to focus more on what's happening in Canada because there's a lot of very crucial things going on.
Yeah. Speaking of a mess, I mean, it's a mess here too. Honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This morning I did a report talking about the long-term care deaths. And the reason that I'm going to bring this up one more time is because it kind of sets the table for the lockdown that Doug Ford is imposing in Toronto and York and Durham. And that destroys small businesses. That's not a small thing, right? So the deaths in long-term care were 10,781, and the total deaths are 10,947 as of the 15th. And yet still we're locking down. Do you think that if people were aware of the magnitude of the deaths in long-term care versus in the public, that they would be supportive, or do you think things would change?
It's really incredibly dishonest, I think, incredibly unintelligent that there hasn't been any nuance when looking at the numbers since the beginning of this thing.
No.
It's always just been like, oh, deaths, more numbers, more cases. Well, who is getting sick and who is dying?
Yep.
These questions, these very simple questions, have not even been addressed from the beginning. It's been like over 9 months now.
Yeah.
And the only people who are really talking about this, I guess CTV mentioned it, and people are calling them out on it, which is, I mean, it's good that they even mentioned it, because this sort of nuance of looking where the deaths are happening isn't really a popular talking point that comes up much.
No, and even when they mentioned it, it was you can see the video. It's in the links in the tweets. In the tweet stream there, the tweet thread, excuse me. They mention it to scare people, but the reality of the situation shouldn't scare people. I think that what's more scary is if you've got a business like the owner of Adamson Barbecue, and the prospect of just rolling over and having your business bankrupt for no good reason. I think that's more scary than potentially a disease that has not really killed all that many people when you remove the long-term care deaths. And I'm not trying to remove or minimize the long-term care deaths, but people do die. That's part of life, and there's no evidence that this is out of line with the usual all-cause mortality that we've seen in 2019, 2018, 2017. It's in line with all of that.
Yeah, and Adamson Barbecue, somebody sent me his Instagram post last night saying, hey, we're open tomorrow, Tuesday, we're defying Ontario lockdowns. But he doesn't go into like much science, but he does say, he's like, guys, like, the average age of people dying is 85, and like the average life expectancy is 82. This is kind of ridiculous.
Yep.
And he also goes into he actually talks about the PCR tests and basically talks about how they're inaccurate, or they'll pick up other things, including a regular coronavirus, which is not COVID, like a regular like flu or whatever.
Yep.
And how it's like, so based on this, we'll be in code red until the spring. Like we will not survive. Like these businesses will not survive. So I'm making this decision, and thanks so much for all the people who I know already support me.
Yeah, and I think this is the only way to do this. You were talking about the comments. Now I don't do Instagram too much. I'm not that cool. But the reporter, one of the reporters on this, was saying the comments on the Instagram post are a mix of supportive and vows to line up, and critics recommending that the very delicious Cherry Street and Beach Hill alternatives, and are asking for others to cancel their pre-orders. So the comments on his Instagram post are mixed, but he's got a lot of views. I think that's interesting because even my wife said, I said something to the effect of, this is all garbage, it's nonsense or whatever. And she said, there's certainly other people out there who are feeling as strongly about this as you are, dear. So I thought that was interesting. It's turning, it seems.
Yeah. And there's always going to be people on both sides of the conversation. And that's kind of what for the people who are criticizing him, and they're always these snarky, cautionary Cathys who are like, oh,
Karen.
well, I want him to go out of business and all this stuff. And it's like, if there's anything I want to communicate to those people, and I don't know if they watch Speaking Moistly, but make sure you subscribe if you are.
Like and subscribe.
Is you don't have to go to this guy's barbecue place.
There you go.
You have the choice
Freedom.
to stay home. You have the choice to order Uber Eats. This is what it used to be like. You used to be able to just make the decision for yourself. So first of all, like, that is the freedom, the choice that we have and that we're supposed to have living in a developed Western nation like Canada.
Yep.
So that's the one thing. And then the second one is, am I going to lose it here? Uh-oh, I might have lost my second point. What was I want to communicate to these people?
That's all right. I'll mention as well that the Jennifer Pagliano, one of the journalists who's covering this, is saying, to be clear, Adamson Barbecue, like all other restaurants in Toronto, the city, she says, but I'll say Toronto, is allowed to be open for takeout and delivery. They can't have indoor or patio dining. That's what Skelly is protesting. And we've got footage of inside the restaurant, and people are indeed currently sitting down, dining in Toronto. So if you're by Etobicoke, you might have a lineup, you might have a bit of a wait, but they're open and ready. There's an interview here from the Post Millennial, and you were telling me about it. I haven't had a chance to watch all of it yet, but Chris Selly's talking about some underhanded tricks by the media. They were blocking his driveway or something. Yeah,
if you watch this clip, he basically describes how CTV, CBC, I think he said Virgin Radio, and some other outlets were essentially kind of crowding people and getting in the way of people near the entrance. I suspect trying to get a rise out of people. Because that's kind of what happens. That's kind of what happens when there's a crowd of like freedom lovers and they see a bunch of mainstream media people. Like they if they're not cool headed, they'll be like, hey, like, get out of here, CBC, like, you're fake news or whatever.
Yeah, things can escalate quickly.
And then they'll just clip that and be like, oh, went to the barbecue place. And he basically describes in this video, like, yeah, these people are, they're trying these dishonest, trying to, like, specifically, they clearly have a strategy. They're not showing up and just talking to people. Like, they're doing something a little bit more, not just objectively showing up and talking to people, which I'm pretty sure is what you're supposed to do as a journalist or as a news reporter, report what's happening, not try to make something happen to then, et cetera, you can imagine.
Yeah, and it is interesting when you get to the point where the news media are trying to get a rise out of a business owner like this, who's already stressed, who's already under pressure, who's already in a situation where their business is at risk, and they know they're committing civil disobedience at the very least. They're under pressure. This is not pressure that they themselves have put themselves under. This is a situation where the government has moved in and said, we know better. Despite giving any evidence, your business needs to close because you are at the core of this outbreak of coronavirus. But all the deaths are in long-term care. So I don't understand how there aren't more people like this gentleman. And this guy's a hero. Make no mistake. He's a hero for doing what he's doing. But I don't understand how there's not more business owners who are not standing up for their right to open their business. And if they don't stand up now, when? Next year? If we agree to this, like, they haven't proven that this is anything more than a regular flu. We've got 9 months of data, and the all-cause mortality is low. There's all sorts of indications that this has been way overblown, and they being the leadership, the municipal leadership, John Tory, Cam Guthrie, mayors, councils, provincial leadership, Doug Ford, and federally. Justin Trudeau's hiding in his cottage again. For nothing. For what? It's incredible. It's incredible.
And yeah, so I was talking to a local small business owner about this, and they were saying that there actually might be a way to fight the fines that these business owners might get for opening up. Essentially, it's kind of the same thing that Chris Sky has mentioned, which is, although there's these emergency measures that have been imposed upon citizens, because not that many people are dying, because it's actually not like as big as an emergency, even though it's called an emergency act, they can't justify taking away your charter rights. And that would be the same argument that a business owner would use, I guess.
I guess so. I hope it would work. I mean, I've seen communications, like people have sent me tweets about people being given fines in St. John's, Newfoundland for not wearing a mask outside. I've seen people sending videos of people being arrested in Costco in Canada, and I've also seen across the border. I think it was in Georgia that the guy was being arrested. But there's a bunch of indications that your rights don't matter. I mean, I've equated the abortion, my body, my choice thing. Like in that situation, somebody's life hangs in the balance. In this situation, it's my own well-being that is hanging in the balance, and I'm not allowed to make the choice. But in the abortion situation where someone else's life hangs in the balance, they're allowed to make that choice. That seems crazy. Like it's crazy.
It is. It is crazy. It is crazy. And I gotta say, I was reading through a lot of these comments, and some of them are absolutely crazy. One of them was like, "Oh, you just want to open your business and now you're going to kill us all," or like, "We're all going to die." Was like the verbiage. Yeah. It was like, "We're all going to die."
There is
absolutely. What are you watching?
Yeah.
Like, are you watching CBC or some Netflix dystopian movie? Also, what's the difference?
Well, right, and they have put out that movie, right? The movie where if you don't have the bracelet thing on, that the cops are coming to your door and they'll knock it down.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
This is psychological terrorism at this point.
Oh man, yeah, and it's not based in the real numbers, right? Like people are afraid for fear's sake. Like this is not the big deal that they're trying to make it into. The big deal is the fact that a lot of the leadership are ignoring this as any like the HCQ, the hydroxychloroquine stuff, the treatments. Why does Canada have such a high death rate with regard to elderly people? Why are we letting our long-term care home people die? If there is a treatment, why aren't we allowing them to access it? There seems to be so many questions, valid questions that nobody appears to be willing to answer. And when you get to the point of the press conferences, it's such a whirlwind and the questions are so softball. How are we supposed to move on with our life? Are we supposed to be in lockdown forever? Do these people expect us to sit in lockdown forever?
Yeah. And I remember the second point I had.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
It just came to me.
Yep.
Of these people who are criticizing this business owner for opening up and defying the rules, the way in which they're just absolutely vilifying and crapping all over this guy, it's like such scrutiny, such criticism, such like scathing remarks to this small like little guy, this little everyday guy trying to run his business.
Yep.
Where is that amount of scathing criticism towards, I don't know, Theresa Tam or Patty Haydu, or the way in which this whole virus developed originally? It seems sometimes like only people like me and you who are actually like paying attention to this sort of stuff, and like people like us who are actually like applying criticism towards the right people and scathing critiques towards the right people. And it's like, amidst all this virus stuff, it's like you're going to get angry and act as if this small business owner is the cause of your problems. Really?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's no sunlight between if you're not wearing a mask, then you want to kill grandma. There's no like, right. you might have like asthma or a breathing disorder. You might have had a surgery recently, a heart surgery or something to that effect. There's maybe a reason that you can't wear a mask walking around, right? But no, you're just a terrible, awful person. I've had people, because I don't wear a mask going around, and I've had people, I saw on a newspaper some advertisement somewhere like there should be a sign like this for "Where's your mask?" And I thought, well, that's just stupid. But I've had people like try and like make eye contact and like be big guys, and I'm like, dude, I don't think so. It's not gonna work. It's very interesting.
Wear a mask, man. Hey, wear a mask.
Yeah.
I saw someone else make the joke how it's funny how these cautionary Cathys, these COVID cautionary Cathys are like, yeah, call the cops on him, like, get the cops down there, give him a fine. It's like, are you the same defund the police people from the BLM? I'm just curious.
They definitely are. They definitely are. And there's no talking sense to these people, right? They're willing to use any means necessary, including our own rules and laws against us to further their own whatever crazy agenda. No barbecue for you, no restaurants, no anything. So we can all be equal in our misery. No thanks. No thanks. I think I'd rather not do that with the rest of Canada, like with the rest of the time we've got here. It just seems like a very, very poor idea. I don't know what the plan is after we're done this lockdown. And I mean, like this is a flashpoint. Adamson Barbecue is a flashpoint. And I think we're going to see either a big, big, big crackdown on businesses that choose to do this, a big show of force from John Tory, or we're going to see more businesses do this. And I hope it's more businesses do this. I hope if there's a big crackdown, even more businesses do this, because I don't know what the plan is afterwards. I don't know after 28 days. Why is it 28 days? Do you know why it's 28 days? That's one. And after 28 days, what is the plan to safely open up so we don't have to lock down again? Because the whole point of business is to, reasonably be open most of the time so you can reasonably serve customers. And if the customers are locked in their houses, that's hard. How do you make money? What's the plan? And the plan isn't we wait for a vaccine and we'll just do intermittent lockdowns until then. That's not a plan. That's not a plan at all.
Yeah, and it's really hard to kind of stay calm for somebody who's trying to look at the different biases and look at it objectively. Like, as we've mentioned and talked about, like, there hasn't really been an honest conversation about how to strategically look at this lockdown and, keep the people who are at higher risk safer. There's so many kind of inconsistencies and reasons to kind of doubt our leadership and their decisions. And for me, the biggest one that's happened, and maybe you can quickly, you've probably reported on this many times already, wrapping up non-essential items in stores.
Oh yeah.
Like closing that up. Like, I'm sorry, what does that have to do with health and safety?
Yeah.
Because they've been hiding all of this behind health and safety. And now you can't even buy these certain items. And it's like, what does this have to do with, like, I don't see any argument here for health and safety. And then someone said, oh, well, when they know they can't get the essential items, they won't leave their house to try and get the non-essential item. And it's like, how trusting are you going to be of these people who are clearly propagating a dishonest conversation around this thing?
Yeah. Well, we've made shopping, like the West has made shopping into a pastime. You go to the store, it's like going for a walk in 100 years ago. You go to the mall, you go down shopping. Oh, I'm just going to pick a couple of things up. You pick up stocking stuffers or whatever, but they've made it into a pastime. And now they're trying to vilify people for doing the thing that consumption has ran our economy. Barack Obama tried to turn the economy of the United States into like a hospitality consumption economy and Trump has had so much success because Obama killed the exports and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I don't want to get into the finer points because I'm not up on the finer points, but fundamentally if you encourage shopping and then vilify people for doing it, it's crazy. And having like Costco open, but not having a small retailer, a small grocery store, or a small whatever store open, just seems completely unfair. And the way to make that fair is not to cover the items that the other store can't sell. It's to let the small store open. Manitoba's just gone bonkers, completely bonkers.
Yeah, and I saw your one tweet. I think you mentioned it. How it's like, this is very demoralizing. This is definitely like sends a message to people more than anything. Like. And that's kind of my take. When I see something like that, I'm like, this isn't about health and safety. Like, this is about sending a strong message to the populace of like, stay in line, citizen. It's very, it's health and safety. It's health and safety. Yeah, I don't think so.
Authoritarian. Yeah.
But
well, what's health and safety? Manitoba gets pretty cold, I hear. Manitoba's a cold place as far as I've known. And what's healthy or safe about standing outside in minus 40 degrees? You're going to go to the store in pairs. You're going to keep your car on, and you're going to be like, okay, you go stand out and keep our place in line, and then when you get really cold, you run back, and I'll go out and stand and keep our place in line, right? And you're just going to have this car running in the parking lot waiting for your chance to get in the store that's reduced for your safety, right? The attendance is reduced for your safety. Bullshit. Look at the beginning for the numbers. It's bullshit.
Yeah, and back to the Adamson Barbecue. I mean, what's so great and refreshing about that? I remember seeing the clip and being so inspired by it. It's almost just kind of like a reset and like a reminder. A reset. Maybe not the best word, but a reminder.
Like a great reset.
Yeah, a reminder of like, hey, we have the choice. We have the choice to do this or not. You can come here or not, and people might say, oh, he can just do takeout orders and all this. And it's like, man, a lot of these critics, I imagine, don't work for small businesses, don't know small business owners,
right?
Because, more and more of them are speaking up and doing the math. Probably people who have never even been politically engaged or even followed the COVID numbers, that I'm sure they're actually starting to look into this and kind of be like tilting their head, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And for now, it's people like this Adamson Barbecue. It's like, yeah, they have every right for the civil disobedience that they're showing, and to say, you know what, actually, it isn't wartime. People aren't dropping like flies. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to give people brisket today. I'm going to sell them brisket in person. That's what's going to happen.
And they can sit here and eat it. I think that it's interesting that we're not allowed to. Well, it's about the congregation, right? Did you hear about in the States they've banned alcohol sales from the day before Thanksgiving to after the weekend or something like that? So like you can buy alcohol today and that's it. Did you know? You didn't hear about this?
No.
Yeah. There's Philadelphia, I think, banned the sale of alcohol. It's about just, well, you said it earlier, demoralizing us, right? And it's how do you fight back, right? And this is going to be interesting because there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of people who are in line, no masks, willing to risk it. This is personal responsibility. This is what the tradition of Canada is. If you feel afraid, then you stay home. You tell your boss, COVID-19, man, I can't go outside. Mm-hmm. And your boss will say, okay, man, like you've isolated for 15 days. There's nobody here is sick. You can wear your mask and you can whatever, but you've got your thing and you can make your own mind up. If you could do that, why can't these people do this? Why can't the business owner say, I'm not worried. I think that I'm going to live. And if I don't live, then my family will mourn me and I will take the responsibility of those actions and things will happen or not. I want to open my business. Otherwise, the business dies. The business is dead. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore, right? Is it okay to just destroy the businesses across our province for the specter, the fear of death? And I mean, like everybody's going to die. It's a certainty, right? The offer of a little bit of safety, you might live a little bit longer, maybe. Is that worth destroying our economy and culture? I'm not convinced.
Yeah. It's really difficult to try to understand where other people are coming from on this, because I guess they believe that, it's just going to be 2 weeks of lockdown. Oh, it's just going to be
28 days.
The summer of lockdown. Oh, it's just going to be a little bit longer, and then everything's going to go back to normal. And it's like, I don't know, I don't know how their brains work or how they're looking at this, but it must be nice to be so optimistic to think this is all just going to go away and that all these strange things that are being imposed are just for health and safety. I really don't understand how people could view it that way, and that's it.
Well, to be fair, I think that Trump's going to fix it.
Really?
Well, I was gonna use it as a not really. I was gonna use it as a segue. Let's say I'm hopeful. Let's say, because I was saying at the end of my show today, maybe we'll finish up with this because we should talk about the stuff that's going on in the election.
Sure.
I was saying at the end of my show today, it could go two ways, because I think that this is a war, and it's a war in that you can plan to win the election. You can plan certain things, like you're planning to invade a country, or I'm making the World War II comparison, right? And sometimes the invasion of a territory doesn't go as planned. You don't get across the bridge when you think, or you don't get across this. So things can happen in a war. Same way things can happen here. But this thing can go one of two ways. One way, Biden is inaugurated, and if that's the direction we go, then Dominion voting machines are as legitimate as they have always been, and there's no questions about any election now, historically, and ever in the future. And they'll double down on using Dominion, and the facade of choice will carry on, and the pantomime will continue, and they'll continue locking us down and behaving this way. Or Trump gets elected, and they look into the Dominion voting systems, and if Trump is elected, if Trump is inaugurated as the president of the United States in 2021, then something different is going to happen, because it's not going to stay just the same. It's not going to be static. It's not going to say, well, I guess nothing happened. right? Like nobody can realistically say that at that point in time. So I've often made the comparison. Remember, like bounty ads where they had the dripping water, right? And to me, this is like a bounty full of like water, and they've just backed up a water truck, and they're ready to and that thing is ready to go, and it's just not going yet. And I think that there's procedural reasons and all sorts of other stuff. Now Biden could win. Hey man, I could be wrong, right? Like who knows? I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't see the future. I don't know. Biden could win, and I think that would be bad. But
win.
Bad presidents have happened before.
He
blah,
could
blah,
win.
Blah, whatever. He could win. Yeah, exactly. But that would have broader consequences, I think. And I think that a lot of people will have serious questions that, regardless of what happens in the next little while, I think those questions are going to be demanded to be answered. And I think that Trump is going to look into it. Biden's not. And again, this is a war, right? So crossing the bridge, maybe doesn't happen when you think. Taking the town maybe doesn't happen when you think. But there's things happening one way or another. We're going to see a resolution. It might not be the resolution we want to see. I hope that it's the resolution that we want to see.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I don't want a team to win. It's not about a team to win. I like Trump. I think that he's done a good job, blah, 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 all that other stuff. I'm pretty open about that. But what I want is the truth. I just want the ability to look at what happened, verify it with certainty, be able to say, this is the number, because these all of these data points match up with this number, and we can mathematically say with confidence that this is real, and not like masks work real, and not like climate change real.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of comes down to what it even means to be a Canadian or be an American. Like, our identity is kind of like wrapped up with the institutions that we supposedly have so much faith in. And as a Canadian, I'm sorry, my faith in our institutions has been shaken.
Yep.
And I think it's very normal for somebody who doesn't have the utmost confidence in their institutions anymore to kind of reinstill that confidence, to get that confidence back, to get that sort of faith back.
Yep.
Because, I mean, when we don't have that, what do we have?
Yep.
We have a bunch of people. We have chaos. We have a bunch of people who are mad at each other with their own rules, their own beliefs, their own, institutions slanted different ways or what have you. But I think you're right. I think kind of like upholding, the Constitution, upholding the truth, upholding this and that and the other. Mm-hmm. It's keep it simple, folks. Like we've done this already. We know what we need to how to follow things and how to live in a civilized society. But I do want to add, what I love about the Adamson Barbecue thing is it does give me hope, because I have faith in the human spirit. I have faith in Canadians waking up slowly but surely. And this Adamson Barbecue guy is a great example. He's a young guy with like a young son. He's obviously likes freedom and knows what it means, and he knows what's at stake. And he has a pair of testicles, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna, this is what I believe in, and this is what I want to do. And I can only see more and more people, maybe not necessarily stepping up publicly, but kind of being more aware of what's going on and choosing to do something about it. Because, in many ways, this sort of much more intense political climate we're in, sure, it got more intense with 2016 and Trump, but since COVID, oh boy, if you didn't care about politics before, yeah, you're in the game now. Everybody's in the game now.
Well, I mean, either your favorite sport has been destroyed or your show has been destroyed. I had some friends talking about their show. They like to watch a show, and there was a spin-off of the show, so they're excited for the spin-off. And then when the spin-off happened, it was all about like BLM and like how this not tertiary character, but like a smaller character was. There was some Black Lives Matter connection, and they were like the whole show became like this Black Lives Matter thing, and I was like, I just couldn't watch it. And I can't watch modern shows. The entertainment industry has been decimated by this garbage, and that's, I mean, maybe not a bad thing. It's an evolution, I suppose, but my goodness, there's no escaping the right think if you are embroiled in that, and people are just fed up. It's bullshit. It's this. The post-woke, the woke ideology is worse than a religion, because there's no salvation. There's no forgiveness. There's no salvation. You're guilty and you're guilty and you're evil and guilty. And there's anything be done about it. You're just a guilty, evil blank. And it's just, people are just so sick of it. Shove it up here. Done with it.
Yeah. And it's really kind of this sick cult of obedience, and how the rules change all the time, and whatever's popular. And it's almost made, I'm going to use people who are really into trends, it rewards these people who are into fads and into trends, and like just consume whatever's popular. Whatever's popular is right. Whatever's popular is right. Oh, you agree with the popular thing? Me too.
Yeah. But they feel good about that, though, because it's a feedback loop, right? They post on Instagram, and then the bots all like it, and they get hundreds of likes, and people are all happy, and blah blah blah. Anyway, I think we've exhausted this conversation today. What do you think? Are we done?
Yeah, we're done here. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Yeah, there's so much going on. It's hard to get a handle on it and like come at it at a really reasonable kind of way. You try and have like one conversation, it all bleeds into all the rest of the stuff that feeds into it, right? There's lots happening, and people are sick of it, and it's like a cacophony, right? You're just being bombarded all the time with crap.
Yeah, and more of it is related than it is unrelated.
Yes, yeah. So it feels like I talk about a lot of the same things all day, but it's all this churning. It's like a washing machine. Anyway, I've said that before. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching Speaking Moistly. Check Greg out on his YouTube channel. He does some wonderful parodies and some awesome short clips and videos. Greg, plug your stuff.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Greg Wycliffe. Link in the description. Yeah.
Awesome. And check out CanadaPoly.com. I do my daily show. Check out SpeakingMoistly.com. You can check out our back catalog, and check out CanadaReport.co. That's my scratch pad. That's where I'm working on stuff. I'm actually working on a book. It's called Doctatorship.
Nice.
Yeah, totally. It's happening. I've got at least, it's probably 9 chapters at this point, and I'm going to release the audiobook at the same time, because that's how I'm going to write it, I think. But we'll see. We'll figure out. Keep your eye open for that, and have the Prime Minister play us out. And here we go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.